then, so new topic today. We are starting to look at ethical, legal, cultural and environmental concerns, particularly through technology. So you can see an image of the OCR specification on what you need to know on this. So make sure you have a read through. We will go through the topic in the videos, but at the end of the topic, make sure you come back and review this and make sure you're happy with all of the keywords, all of the expectations. Okay, so before we get started, a question for you to ponder. Technology is more prevalent now in our everyday lives than it ever has been. We're spending longer on it, we are gathering more data. So I want you to pause the video and think about, where is technology in your everyday life? So if I look around me, I've got my smartphone with all of my apps, it's my camera, it's my alarm clock. I can video call my family, I can video call someone in Australia. I've got my fitness watch, tracking my steps, how much exercise I'm doing, how often, what my heart rate is. Downstairs there's a sensor for the heating that I can turn on from my phone. That's just a couple of examples. So pause the video and have a little think about, how is tech being used in your everyday life? Okay then, so before we go any further, let's get some definitions sorted. There are 4 different angles that we look at the impact of tech from. The first is ethical, and that's what's considered right and wrong by society. Now that's different to legal issues because they're considered right and wrong in the eyes of the law. So if we think about recycling, for an example, if you have got 4 recycling bins, one for your plastics and bottles, one for your paper, etc., if you carry on putting all of your paper into the black bin and not recycling it, that's ethically wrong, but not legally wrong. Okay? We've then got cultural issues. So how particular groups of people might be affected by technology. So some countries and some people with particular beliefs find red an aggressive or a colour associated with danger. So you might avoid using that on your website if you were selling yoga sessions, something like that. That was a poor example. I apologise for that. And then lastly, environmental issues is what it says on the tin. How is technology impacting the natural world? And actually on that side, there's quite a lot on both. So it's benefiting it positively in some ways, but obviously negatively in others. Couple more key terms before we get stuck into the content. This is a really important one. Okay, you need to be able to identify stakeholders for a given scenario in the exam questions, and the exam questions on this topic are worth a lot of marks, so we need to get it right. So a stakeholder is an individual or group of people, so it can be either, who have an interest or are impacted by a particular scenario. So if we take school, for example, who does school affect? Well, it affects me because it's my job. It affects you because it's providing your education and your opportunities to go to university and apprenticeships and that kind of thing. It affects your parents because they're invested in your education. It affects all the staff that are employed in the canteens and estates and support staff and that kind of thing. And on a more general level, school affects the people living in the local area. If you are living close to a really good school, the value of your house is likely to go up. So stakeholders is anyone who is affected by a particular scenario. It is worth pointing out at this point, their interests might not always match up. If I set you a load of homework, I'm doing that so you get a good grade, but you might think, actually, I've got 3 parties to go to this weekend. That doesn't fit in with my timetable. So priorities don't always match up there. You will be asked for stakeholders in a particular scenario, like I said before. So it is really important that you're staying up to date with tech news. If you can just check in even once a week with the tech page on BBC or The Guardian or something like that, it gives you a whole world picture. So when you are given a scenario, you've got more information to draw from. I've put BBC Click as a link on the Twitter page. They've got loads of lovely little videos on how tech is affecting different topics. So that's a really nice starting point, BBC Click. So let's get stuck into the nitty-gritty. Another pause the video and think slides. We share more information than we've ever done before. Okay, through the devices that I've talked about, through that home heating system that we've got installed, through my watch, phones, the games you play online. So I want you to think about what kind of information is stored about us and who's got it. Do you have, or does someone in your family have an Amazon account? Have they got your buying habits, that kind of thing? So pause the video and write down as many examples as you can. Now, hopefully in front of you, you've got a big list of the kind of information that's kept and who it's kept by. Now, it's worth considering at this point, what is happening to that information? How come they can keep that information about us? So, if you've ever signed up for something like Facebook or Instagram, there'll be a privacy agreement at the start. Now, they make the font tiny, they make it really long, they use massive words so that no one ever reads it. And even if you do, you've got no choice. If you want to use their service, you have to agree. So you are effectively kind of saying you can have my information with those agreements. Now, this is getting better. There is more accountability for social media, particularly to make privacy settings easy. There was an issue with Snapchat a few years ago where it defaulted your location to anyone that you were kind of online with. So if you didn't know those people and they knew your location, imagine the safety implications there. Again, we're going to look at the legal issues in more detail later on. But under the Data Protection Act, a company has to legally keep your data secure. Okay, even though that law is in place, a lot of companies, again, do a little bit of Google search on this, have had data stolen. There was a big PlayStation leak. There was a big online dating agency for people who wanted to cheat on their partners. There's loads of big stories on this, so do a little bit of Googling. And on a more localized level, if your phone gets stolen, what information can that person access? Have you got your mobile banking apps? Have you got anything that would reveal your location, your passwords, anything like that? Okay. So we're going to zoom in on two particular areas now. So censorship is when someone tries to control what other people can access on the internet. Now, this can be at many different levels. We've got censorship in school. You can't get on social media websites, for example. You can't search inappropriate images. And that is to maintain the safety of students in school. At a higher level, you've got 3 countries down here who operate a particularly high level of censorship. If we take China, you can't access any of the social media companies we'd be familiar with, like Instagram or Facebook. They're all blocked. The only social media you can access in China is the Chinese government social media because they want to keep that kind of level of control. North Korea, for example, there's so much research you can do in this area and find out so many good facts. But North Korea, notoriously tight-knit. Their citizens can't access any of the news from the outside world, only what that government determines. So again, censorship can be good. We're stopping teenagers from accessing potentially unsafe information. But on the flip side, should Chinese citizens be able to access Facebook and Instagram if they want to? So censorship is where they control what you can actually access. Surveillance is when they're monitoring what you are looking at. And again, that might happen in school. If you type in a particular keyword to Google, that would flag up on the IT system. Again, it happens a lot at government level in the interest of national safety. If someone's Googling how to make a bomb, MI5, MI6, GCHQ want to know where that's happening. Okay, so that's more of a control level. On a more kind of personal level, technology is affecting society's well-being and individuals. And this can be in a load of different ways. You might feel pressured to buy the latest tech and spend all your money on a new phone because it's got a new feature and all your friends have got it and you don't want to feel left out, or the advert was particularly whiz-bangy. Points 3 and 4 on this, I think, are particularly relevant at the moment. A lot of our A-level students used to come into school at 7:30, leave at 5:30, and do all their schoolwork at home, at school, so they could have the home life at home. That's not happening anymore. Your lessons are happening whilst you're sat at home. And also the lack of face-to-face interaction. There's loads of studies about why it's so important for our happiness to have that face-to-face interaction, and obviously lockdowns stopping that from occurring at the moment. Okay, so just to finish off, these are 3 of the potential issues that can occur as a result of the internet. People are more likely to cyberbully than they would bully in real life because you can't see the impact that you're having. You can't see how much you're upsetting that person. And the same with trolling and sexting. Okay, so make sure you get those keywords on your flashcards and complete the task set for this week.